Hi, and welcome back to my channel, Good Effort Meg. Today I wanted to do something a little different. We've been doing a lot of crafting lately, and I've just been jonesing to do a repair project. So today I am going to be fixing a drift problem on one of Anthony's PlayStation controllers. So a couple years back, I bought Anthony this custom SCUF Vantage PlayStation controller. He also got the PlayStation as a gift from me, and he really only played Xbox up until that point. And so I got him this controller just because it's a layout that's more similar to an Xbox controller, and it's a super, super nice controller. We both really like it, but we've had it for about 5 years or so, and we noticed in the last couple of weeks that the left analog stick was drifting down. So I was like, hey, we've been living with this problem for a couple weeks, and let's just get it repaired. So that's what we're doing today. So without further ado, let's get started. So before I get started with the actual repair, I just want to be sure I have a good idea of what the problem actually is. So here you can see some footage of the game that I'm currently playing, some good old Bloodborne, and you can see when I push forward, my character will go backwards. I apologize for the quality of this PlayStation video, but I don't have a capture card, so this was filmed using my iPhone. This is the guide that we'll be using to do this repair. It is from iFixit. I'll be sure to link it down below. As you can see, it's not the same exact controller, but it was able to get me through the process and was quite similar. So it ended up being quite a good guide. For the materials, we obviously need the suspect controller. We're gonna need some isopropyl alcohol for cleaning the sensors. Definitely gonna need some Q-tips. And lastly, this kit is one of my favorite repair kits that I've ever bought from iFixit. Really all you need is a pair of tweezers, so you don't have to have a special electronics repair kit like this, but anytime I get to whip this baby out, I'm super excited. As with any repair process, the very first step is disassembly. So here I'm just removing the D-pad analog stick, and I'm trying to remove the faceplate. It just is all magnetically attached, so you don't have to worry about any clips or anything, so it's super easy to disassemble. And this is a difference between the iFixit guide and the controller they used and mine. My analog sticks just kind of pop right off. Here, I'm just familiarizing myself with the way that the controller looks inside, trying to get an idea of what housings we need to remove. So these are the two housings that in the repair link, they were green, mine are black, but those are the two areas that we're going to be looking at. Something I learned during this repair, that bottom housing, that is going to be for your left, right, or your X-axis drift. So I actually removed this one as a mistake. I should have removed the one on the left, which is for your up, down, or Y-axis drift, but hey, just consider this a practice round. My biggest piece of advice when trying to open up the housing is to just really take your time. This took me maybe 15 minutes or so just to get it open because I wanted to be sure that I didn't damage any of the items inside. Now that we have the housing open, we're really to the meat and potatoes. So there you could see me pointing out the sensor. It was a copper colored device, and it's kind of like a little disc. So again, just be slow, deliberate, and careful as you're trying to remove the sensor. So now that all the hard work has paid off on trying to wiggle this thing out, here's a good look at the sensor just to give you an idea of what it looks like. Again, I'm just inspecting the controller and the housing, just making sure that there's nothing funky going on in there. And now we're gearing up to clean the sensor and the housing. So when cleaning the sensor, again, just be mindful of your hands, regardless of how dry they are. They do have oils and dirt and things like that. So I tried to do my best to clean this without touching it, but it was a little wiggly, so I had to use tweezers to hold it down. But yeah, just do your best and just give it a nice little clean, but again, just be gentle and deliberate. And do the same with the inside of the housing. And now that we have everything nice and clean, we're going to go ahead and reinstall that sensor into the housing. For my particular controller, those copper sensors were facing downward, so towards the bottom of the controller. And then that, like, the black plastic piece just kind of created a nice little seat. And then once you get it in there and it's seated nice and properly, you can just push the housing closed, and there you have it. So I typically like to test things before I reinstall all the bits and parts, and when I was testing this particular repair, I actually introduced a problem and didn't even fix the problem that I intended to repair. So after I did this repair, I actually introduced where the buttons were constantly pointing to the left, so I couldn't even log into the PlayStation. So I included some illustrations of what the sensor actually looks like and what I think I did. So when I was removing the sensor, I believe when I was using my tweezers, I actually compressed both of those little sensor pieces together, and it was constantly providing a resistance path to essentially trick the controller into thinking that I was pressing the left analog stick. So I removed the sensor again, and I actually just kind of gently moved and separated those two little sensor pieces, reinstalled the sensor, closed up the housing, and that actually fixed the problem. So in case you do something similar to I did, I hope this helps you. And now that we recognize the problem, that I repaired the incorrect sensor, I'm just now going ahead and repeating all of those steps previously, and we're going to do it on the correct sensor. So that's all we're doing here. So we're just opening up the housing, removing the sensor, cleaning both the housing and the sensor, reinstalling, and then giving it a test. I do want to say that getting this sensor out was both more difficult and easier at the same time than the other sensor. It just felt like I had a little bit less room to work with on trying to finagle that sensor out of the housing, but overall, I think the other sensor being a good practice round, I did a little bit better, kind of used some different techniques that I picked up doing the first one. So yeah, practice makes perfect. And just a reminder that those copper sensor pieces are now going to be facing to the right of the controller. So that way that black plastic disc that's part of that sensor housing, it seats nice and proper. This time I'm being very careful not to compress those two active parts of the sensor. And the very last step of this repair is to go ahead and reassemble the controller. Again, everything is kind of attached magnetically, which is super nice. So if you end up getting this controller, it's really great because you can buy different faceplates, or you could just take this one, for instance, and paint it a different color if you wanted to. So it's super customizable, and I would give it a pretty easy repair review as well. So I like that. I like being able to repair my own things. And here we are again, just testing and making sure that everything worked out nice and well. And as you can see, it did fix the drift, and I'm very happy. Overall, this repair only took me about 30 minutes. So if your controller is drifting, this is definitely something you can do at home. So I hope this video was helpful for you to show you that it's not too terribly difficult of a repair if you yourself are a gamer. I'm pretty sure, not verified, that most controllers have a similar setup with the sensors. So I can't imagine it would be much more difficult to do this if you have a different controller. But I will leave a link to this particular controller down in my description just in case you're interested in it. It's really cool. Not sponsored or anything, I just really like the controller. But I hope this video helps motivate you if you're kind of on the fence on whether or not you think you're capable of doing this kind of repair. You saw me kind of struggle a little bit trying to get the housing off of the analog sticks, but as long as you're slow, steady, and gentle, like, you can do it. This repair, I would say, in terms of difficulty, was one of the easiest. I think in total it took me 30 minutes, and that includes me making the problem worse before I made it better. But yeah, so I hope this was helpful. And if you like this kind of video and you want to see more, be sure to hit subscribe. I do art videos and science videos, and so I try to post every Friday at noon Eastern time. So I hope you decide to stick around. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.